18.
Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The sensex and the nifty end flat after a late sell-off that wipes out intraday gains. Mid-caps outperform the blue chips. Adani stocks see green for the third day running. Adani Ports becomes the first among the group's 10 entities to recoup all losses since the Hindenburg report in January. Reports say Rajiv Jain of GQG Partners has hiked his stake in the group. It's day one of the 2,000 rupee note deposit and exchange window. No unusual rush or queues at banks across most metros. The Delhi High Court reserves its order on a plea challenging the exchange of the notes without a requisition slip or identity proof. The government makes tests mandatory for cough syrups before they are exported. The move comes after the World Health Organization linked the deaths of children in Gambia and Uzbekistan to cough syrups made in India. All businesses with an annual turnover of more than 5 crore rupees will move to e-invoicing of B2B transactions under the Goods and Services Tax. Earlier, the threshold was 10 crore. The new rule will take impact from the 1st of August. Vedanta declares an interim dividend of more than 18 rupees a share. This is the 6th dividend announcement in the last 12 months. Anil Agarwal stands to gain nearly 4,700 crore rupees for a 68% stake in the company. SpiceJet Chairman Ajay Singh says the process to revive the grounded fleet has begun thanks to funds from Emergency Credit Scheme and internal accruals. Also adds that a restructuring exercise is underway to further reduce liabilities. Prime Minister Modi addresses the Indian diaspora with his Australian counterpart in Sydney. Both nations hope to boost trade and defence relationship to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. WhatsApp rolls out its latest feature allowing users to edit messages. Users can opt to change their text within 15 minutes of sending a message. The global update will be available in a couple of weeks. Well, let's go straight to the day's trading action. We saw a volatile session today with the markets giving up their intraday gains in the last hour. So the Nifty and the Sensex ended flat but with a slight positive bias. The Nifty is still below the 18,400 mark. Mid-caps outperformed today with the index gaining over 0.5%. Surbhi is here to take us through the details. Surbhi, a volatile day.
Well, the day will classify as a slightly negative one from the bulls' perspective, and that's because we almost gave up all of the day's gains despite holding on to 18,400 for the better part of the session. Last 30 minutes, the bears really came in and threw their weight around. The net result was a Nifty almost falling into negative territory. Adjusted closing still gives us about a 30% or a 30-point up move, but it was really quite a bearish onslaught. So what was the problem area? IT and banks. Banks once again. The Bank Nifty almost ending negative. Adjusted close is just around the flat line, but the Bank Nifty was down in that last 30-minute period. So on the IT side of the market, two stocks stood out, Tech Mahindra and HCL Tech. That's where the pressure was really quite seriously apparent. And on the banking side, it was names like Kotak Mahindra Bank, Axis Bank, and even an HDFC Bank, where the pressure was very clear. On the other side, the green side of the screen was all about the Adani stocks all over again. So you had Adani Enterprises up another 12-13%. Some of the other names like Adani Wilmar, 10% higher, Total Gas, Adani Transmission, 5% up on those kind of stocks. The other Nifty gainers included Divi's, more follow-through buying on good numbers, BPCL and UPL. Now on to the mid-caps. That was a good side of the market because the mid-cap index was consistently outperforming the Nifty throughout the session, even in this last half-hour slide. And we have some interesting names. I mean, on the upside, key movers today include an MCX, Route Mobile, all strong result reactions, and even a Delta Corp had a good session for itself. On the downside, HEG and Borosil were very negative and very dramatic result reactions. Stocks down 6% to almost 10%. And NCC was a bit of a curious case. Not sure if it has any links to Karnataka politics, but that was a stock that was on the way down. Globally, markets are now beginning to pay attention to the US debt ceiling impasse. It's showing up in US bond yields, and now it's starting to show up in equities as well. So we need to watch for those headlines very, very carefully as we come back in for trade tomorrow.
All right, Surbhi, yes, we will be tracking that closely. But let's talk about today. The spotlight once again on the Adani Group stocks ending in the green for the third straight session. The group's overall market cap now crossing 11 lakh crores. Adani Ports has recouped all the stock losses that it had incurred since the Hindenburg report was published. Meanwhile, according to Bloomberg, Rajiv Jain's GQG Partners has upped its stake in the Adani Group. Jain is also likely to participate in the conglomerate's future fundraising plans. Now, Vedanta has declared an interim dividend of more than 18 rupees a share for this fiscal year. This is the 6th dividend announcement by the company in the last 12 months. Hormuz Patakia joins us now with the details. Hormuz, the 6th dividend in 1 year. Tell us what's different this time around.
That's right. And before I get into more details, let me just clear the basics first. And Vedanta on Monday night declared an 18.5 rupees dividend for its shareholders. And as you said, over the last 6 instances, it has paid 120 rupees as dividends, which includes 101 rupees that it paid in FY23. But what is interesting this time around is the timing of the announcement, as it comes just a week ahead of a $500 million debt maturity of its parent, Vedanta Resources. Now, Vedanta has been on the hunt for cash from its companies after its proposed $3 billion deal with Hindustan Zinc was stalled due to concerns raised by the government. Now, billionaire promoter Anil Agarwal has multiple times in the past denied reports of him planning any stake sale in the company. However, March quarter shareholding pattern shows that Vedanta Resources' stake in the listed entity was down to 68.1% from 69.69% in December. So now, based on this shareholding pattern, Vedanta Resources will earn 4,683 crore rupees as dividend, which when converted is equal to $564 million, which would mostly be used to repay that debt. Now, although shareholders have been richly rewarded so far, the question is whether this can sustain considering the upcoming debt maturities. As of the 31st of March, Vedanta had net debt of 45,260 crore rupees. And the muted reaction on the stock price is a possible outcome of this uncertainty.
Hormuz, many thanks for joining us. It is day one of the Reserve Bank's 130-day window to exchange or deposit the 2,000 rupee notes. Now, banks across the country are allowing people to exchange up to 10 2,000 rupee notes at one time in one tranche. 30th of September is the deadline for the exchange or the deposit window. Now, according to the RBI's announcement, no exchange fee will be levied for depositing or exchanging the currency. Our reporters are on the ground taking stock of the situation at different bank branches across the country. And so far, no reports coming in of long queues outside banks. Santya Gora sent us this report from outside of Bank of Baroda's Worli branch in Mumbai.
Starting today onwards, anyone who possesses a 2,000 rupee note can either exchange or deposit that note in any of the bank branch. Now, talking about Bank of Baroda, right now we are in the Worli branch of Bank of Baroda, and talking about what the procedure here is, obviously a lot of clarity is yet to come, but this is the form which Bank of Baroda has given us. So here you can see, of course, they are asking for Aadhaar card and other your Aadhaar card. Now, talking about SBI, SBI said that no identification proof will be required. Even this form doesn't need to be filled. But as far as Bank of Baroda branch is concerned, as of now, we have been given this form to fill and we have been asked to submit our Aadhaar card as well.
They have to just provide some information. What is his account number अगर हमारे साथ हैं तो whether he is going to deposit in the account or he is want to exchange. If he want to exchange, the 10 note is the limitations is there. Otherwise he can deposit in their account.
But what about this form and Aadhaar card or any other ID form, sir? ID card?
जो भी कस्टमर हमारे हैं जिनके अकाउंट है हमारे पास, there is no need. तो जो हमारे नॉन कस्टमर्स आते हैं तो उनकी आइडेंटिटी के लिए हम उनके कुछ भी डिटेल्स हमें OBD प्रॉपर ले सकते हैं.
So we are at the 4th branch of ICICI Bank and talking about the exchange and deposit of 2,000 rupees notes which has started from today. So at ICICI Bank, especially this branch, this is the form which needs to be filled if somebody wants to exchange their 2,000 rupee notes. Now, talking about this form, along with this form, those people who don't have an account with ICICI Bank, they will also need to submit an ID card. This is what the bank staff has told CNBC-TV18. Now, the bank staff has also said that in order to make things easier for the customers, if some people are not willing to fill this form, in that case the bank can make do with a deposit slip, sort of a slip as well. The bank staff has told us that all this is for the internal usage, but and this is actually for non-ICICI Bank customers, but an ID card is a must. In Mumbai, with camera person Sohail Akhtar, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
Well, as the day has progressed, no rush still for the exchange of 2,000 rupee notes. Some banks are seeing higher than usual deposits. Some banks that we visited are seeing small queues also. The State Bank of India here, the Kasturba Gandhi Marg in Delhi has already collected rupees 22 lakhs in 2,000 rupee denomination since this morning. This number includes both deposits as well as exchanges. Also, there is no set rule as we have seen across banks. Some private banks like ICICI Bank are asking customers to fill some forms with basic details. However, other banks like SBI and PNB that we visited are allowing exchanges without any forms whatsoever. But still no rush across banks. Bank officials told us that they don't expect like large numbers of people queuing up, but they have made necessary arrangements that have been put in place.
Well, staying with that story, the Delhi High Court has reserved orders on a PIL that challenges the Reserve Bank and the State Bank of India's notification for withdrawal of 2,000 rupee notes. The petitioner challenged the notification for permitting the exchange of currency notes without requirement of any identity proof. The plea also called the decision arbitrary and in violation of Article 14 of the Constitution. Now, the government has lowered the threshold for e-invoicing from 10 to 5 crore rupees. So all GST-registered businesses with a turnover of 5 crore rupees and more will now have to carry B2B transactions via e-invoices starting the 1st of August. Here's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. SpiceJet Chairman and Managing Director Ajay Singh says the process to revive the grounded fleet within the airline has begun thanks to funds that have come in from the emergency credit scheme as well as internal accruals. Now, this as per a letter accessed by CNBC-TV18 from the chairman to the airline's employees. The letter also says that a restructuring exercise is underway to further reduce liabilities. Danish Anand is standing by with more on what the letter says. Danish.
Well, CNBC-TV18 has exclusively learned from sources that SpiceJet is confident of a quick turnaround. CNBC-TV18 got an access to internal communication in which SpiceJet CMD has informed employees that a restructuring exercise is underway to further reduce the liability of the company. CMD informed that SpiceJet has initiated the process of reviving grounded planes with 50 million funds received from the ECLGS scheme and internal cash accruals. The airline today is celebrating its 18th anniversary and has also announced that 4 out of 25 grounded aircraft will be brought back to service by 15 June. These include 2 Boeing 737s and 2 Bombardier Q400s.
All right, Danish, many thanks for joining us. Another cash-strapped airline, that's Go First, is considering resuming its operations by the end of the month. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 the airline will begin domestic flight operations with a small fleet. Cough syrups being exported from India will now be tested in government labs. The Director General of Foreign Trade has made testing of cough syrups mandatory after the World Health Organization had linked the deaths of several children in Uzbekistan and Gambia to cough syrups made in India. Ekta standing by with more details on the move and its implications. Ekta.
Thanks for that. Yes, in order to ensure quality, the Directorate General of Foreign Trade has made it mandatory for exporters of cough syrups to get them tested at a government lab before they are shipped out. Now, according to the notification, exporters will have to produce the Certificate of Analysis or a COA from the government labs to be able to export cough syrups effective the 1st of June. The notification comes after a spate of incidents involving contaminated cough syrups exported by Indian companies in the past 6 to 7 months. These incidents include Indian company Made in Pharma's cough syrups being allegedly linked to the death of over 65 children in Gambia, while Marion Biotech's cough syrup was linked to the alleged death of 18 children in Uzbekistan. The Indian government has refuted the allegations on Made in Pharma. The latest incident was the WHO issuing an alert on a cough syrup manufactured by Punjab-based QP Pharma Chem and marketed by Haryana-based Trillium Pharma. The cough syrup was identified in Marshall Islands and Micronesia and analysed by the Australian drug regulators, the Therapeutic Goods Administration or TGA of Australia. The common thread amongst all the incidents are cough syrups being substandard or contaminated with unacceptable levels of diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. Remember, They are colorless, odorless, sweetish tasting substances which are mostly used for industrial purposes. The two substances can be toxic if there is any contamination to the pharma grade and if it is consumed beyond the recommended levels. The DGFT has said the certificate of analysis can be obtained from various government labs, including the India Pharmacopoeia Commission, Ghaziabad, and Central Drug Labs. Indian companies we did reach out to have indicated that there could be delays, possibly by a week for more compliant companies, but overall it is a good move for the industry. The DGFT notification seems to be a part of steps undertaken by the Indian government to ensure quality of exports and to protect the image of India being the pharmacy of the world. And remember, it is not just cough syrups. Earlier this year, Chennai-based company Global Pharma has been accused of manufacturing eye drugs which are linked to cases of vision loss and one death in the US. The Indian government now seems to be taking notice, as just a few weeks earlier, the government cancelled licenses of 18 pharma companies allegedly manufacturing spurious drugs, and as many as 76 pharma companies were inspected across the country by the state and central drug regulators.
Ekta, many thanks for joining us. We will head into a break, but up next, US President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have called their latest talks on the debt ceiling productive. However, no deal so far. Details when we return. Prime Minister Modi addressed over 20,000 members of the Indian diaspora along with its Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese in Sydney. The event celebrated the presence of a diverse Indian diaspora in Australia. Prime Minister Albanese thanking Prime Minister Modi for bringing the spirit of the world's largest democracy. The Prime Minister said Indo-Australian ties are based on mutual trust. The two leaders will hold bilateral talks tomorrow to boost trade and defence partnership.
भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया के संबंध 3D पर आधारित है। डेमोक्रेसी, डायस्पोरा और दोस्ती। भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के ऐतिहासिक संबंधों का विस्तार इससे कहीं ज्यादा बड़ा है। सबसे बड़ा आधार है म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट और म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट।
Well, that is the Prime Minister in Sydney. WhatsApp is set to add the edit feature to the app that allows users to edit messages for up to 15 minutes after being sent. The company says the update will allow users to correct misspellings or add extra content to the message. The message will then be tagged as edited. The global rollout of the functions has begun and will be available to users in the next few weeks. Similar edit features have been introduced previously by other messaging services like Signal and Telegram. With less than 10 days before a possible debt default, the US President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have called their latest talks on the debt ceiling productive. However, no deal has been reached yet. In a cautionary letter to lawmakers, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said, and I quote, the Treasury will no longer be able to satisfy all of the government's obligations if Congress has not acted to raise or suspend the debt limit by early June and potentially as early as June 1, end of quote. NBC's Bree Jackson brings us the latest. And reporting there, the Supreme Court has been bitten by the AI bug. The court has invited bids for design, development and implementation of artificial intelligence-based solutions, including tools for transcribing orders and court proceedings. Ashma joins us now with more. Ashma, take us to the court's plan of action when it comes to AI.
Well, the Supreme Court clearly is wishing to onboard the AI bus, and towards that end, we understand has issued an RFP, a request for proposal, and has invited bids for a lot of tech players who can provide it with an AI-enabled system. So what exactly is it that the Apex Court is looking for? Well, the COVID pandemic that we saw brought in the wave of virtual hearings that has in fact become mainstream now between various courts. Now what the Apex Court is looking at is an AI-enabled tool that will document and display conversations that are happening almost in real time, and this is the need for which an AI tool is sought. This will enable for conversations that take place in a courtroom, whether that's exchange of arguments, whether that's observations made by the courtroom, whether that's orders being pronounced in open court, subject to a review. This is, of course, very initial at this point. Subject to a review, these details can then be put out on the website, can also be put out on various handles of the Apex Court, and that is essentially what the Apex Court is looking at. The Supreme Court believes that such AI-enabled tools, and this, of course, coming under the leadership of the E-Committee, which is headed by none other than the Chief Justice himself. This direction that the Chief is looking to give the AI tool is to enable better access to these judicial proceedings for the public. So AI is clearly the theme here. The CJI, Chief Justice Chandrachud, looking to onboard and looking to develop these tools to enable better access to these judicial forums to the public.
All right, Ashwit, many thanks for joining us. Now, Golden Boy Neeraj Chopra, making history, has become the first Indian to seal a numero uno position in the world's javelin rankings. The Olympic gold medalist beating Grenada's Anderson Peters by 22 points, claiming the top spot. He had been ranked second since September of last year. So another big win there for Neeraj Chopra. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.